Okay, now we will get into this new area, which is 15-point viability model. Okay, the team can choose to create their own criteria for a project selection matrix, or they can use a 15-point viability model. Now, one benefit of the project viability model is that it provides some weightage. Okay, weighting or weightage. Okay, not weighting, it's weightage, letting the teams make some criteria which is more important than others. It also removes some of the objective nature of the selection matrix. Okay, criteria 1 is sponsorship. Okay, the project is likely to be sponsored at a higher level. Okay, sponsorship. What is sponsorship? Sponsorship is that they are willing to provide resources for the project, funds and resources. When you say resources, it's both in terms of allocating people resources, allocating their time, as well as funds. So if sponsorship is not there, then it is likely that the project may not do well. How many of you can relate to what I'm saying? Type ICR, I can relate, in the chat box. Improper funding, improper, allocation of resources. And even after allocating resources, they pull them into different priorities, right? Not allowing them to this. Yeah, okay. Right. Okay, criteria number 2, corporate alignment. Very, very important. The corporate alignment is very important. The goals of the project are aligned with the goals of the business. Okay, working on potential projects that are not aligned with business goals can reduce business effectiveness. Okay, how many of you have seen this? Type seen in the chat box. The goals of the project are not aligned with the goals of the business. And finally, after the project is complete, they ask, why did you do this? Right? All right. Oh, many people have seen, many times. Wow, Andrew, fantastic. Okay, fine, great. Okay, third criteria. I hope all of you are taking a note of this, okay? Third criteria is data. Third criteria is data. Data available and can be accessed, so that if you don't have proper data, then the chances are that this project is not going to be giving the optimum results, right? Without access to data, Six Sigma methodologies can't be applied. If you agree, type agree. If you super agree, type SA in the chat box. All right, superb. Next. So if data is excessively time consuming or expensive to collect, then the potential project is usually not the best choice. Okay, sometimes this also happens, right? All right. Next is definition of defect. This is something very, very peculiar that I see in many organizations, okay? There is a specific well-defined defect definition. Sometimes they can't even articulate and tell what is the problem. How do you define without a well-defined? This is called operational definition of measure. Okay, all of you type ODM in the chat box. Operational definition of measure. And when you don't define it properly, all of them don't understand the same way. And if you don't define what is the defect or a problem, then the scope changes and there is a scope creep that we call, like the project management terminology. How many of you can relate to this? Type ICR in the chat box. Okay, fine. The potential process is stable and there are no expectations that the process is going to be overall redesigned and changed in the near future. Sometimes what happened, they spend a lot of time and resources and doing a Six Sigma process, and finally they'll say that we are going to scrap this machine and buy a new machine, or we are going to scrap this process and craft a new process or redesign the process, etc., etc. How many of you have experienced this? Type EXP in the chat box if you experience this. And that's why I'm giving the criteria one by one, slowly and steadily. Great. Awesome. Okay, let me go to further. There is usually no reason to spend time and money improving a process that will drastically change soon anyway, right? Okay. Now, customer, very, very important. The planned goal of the potential project would create a substantial or positive impact on customer satisfaction. That's why we call CTS in the CTS terminology, critical to satisfaction for the customer. All of you type CTS in the chat box. Critical to satisfaction of the customer is very, very important. And customer wants only three things: QCD, okay? QCD, quality, cost, and delivery. And that's why in Six Sigma terminology, we call CTQ, critical to quality, CTC, critical to cost, and CTD, which is critical to delivery. Okay, please take notes, okay? And also the potential project should have strong cost benefit ratio, okay? It should give the yield. This is no brainer. This is obvious. Okay, timeline. Any project should have a timeline, right? The timeline of the potential project, if you ask me, what is the timeline generally we suggest is around 6 months, okay? Though it sometimes takes longer, it should be around 6 months. All of you type 6M in the chat box. The timeline should be around 6 months. Okay. Great. Okay. The next one. Okay. Longer timelines decrease the chance that an improvement fits within the DMAC methodology. Okay. So a DMAC methodology is generally project. We'll be talking about how to, if it is a big project, we can break it into small projects, but then it should be managed within 6 months. Okay. Then the next criteria is solution. Okay. When we talk about a solution, the potential project purpose is to find a solution that is not already known or defined. Okay. A solution that is not already known or defined. As we previously stated, if the solution is obvious, you don't need to run a project to find it. Okay. How many of you agree with this? I always say this is, some people do this. They already know the solution and they will try to fit a methodology around that solution. How many of you can relate to what I'm saying? Type ICR in the chat box. They'll try to fit a methodology around a solution. Okay. Okay. Implementation is the key. What do we mean by this? A solution identified and verified by potential project is likely to be implemented. If for any reason, the change is very unlikely within a process, then going through Six Sigma improvement is waste of resources. If you agree with me on a scale of 1 to 10, please give me a 9 or 10 on this. And we have 5 more criteria. And after that, I will just go through a nice template, okay? And I'll share the template also with you. Okay. Required investment. The potential project requires investment of some time and money. Generally, greater the cash or capital investment is required, the less likely the project will be selected or a solution will be implemented in due course of cost benefit analysis. Okay, how many of you are with me on this particular thing? Type WU in the chat box. The greater cash or capital investment required, the less likely the project will be selected. Right. All right, available Six Sigma resources. The black belts and green belts are required to be in the project, are required to be available. Okay, sometimes if those people are busy, who will guide you, right? Okay, inputs can be controlled. Look at this very, very important thing. For a Six Sigma process, okay, improvement project to be successful, at least some of the inputs must be within control of the team or organization. For example, a team can't work to improve a quality of the part that is provided wholly by the vendor. Okay, so some of the inputs must be within the control. Okay, how many of you agree with this? Then redesign. The project can be improved as is and doesn't need a complete redesign. This is also an easier one. The last, process quality is improved or maintained. The improvement does not negatively impact the quality of service of quality of product or service along the value chain. It should not, that project should not implement something else, okay, in this. Okay, all of you give a thumbs up if you understood all the criteria. Okay, so that's the thumbs up. Okay, all right, so are you ready for the quiz? After the quiz I will share the template. Okay, are you ready for the quiz? Type yes in the chat box. Let's go through the quiz. All right, amazing. Okay, if you're not registered for this upcoming session, for those who are the first time, just quickly register for this. Okay, the quiz session. Which criteria focuses on financial benefit gained from Six Sigma project? I mean, this is very simple. Feasibility, potential savings, risk, and urgency. You know, such easy answer, right? So we'll have 5 questions, obviously. Okay. Potential saving is the right answer. Okay. The second question, 2 of 5. Okay. What does the feasibility criteria assess in a Six Sigma project? Potential financial benefit, alignment with organization goals, practicality of the project with available resources and technology, or time to complete. What is the right answer? C is the right answer, practicality of the project with available resources. And all of you type C, thumbs up. Great. Third question. 2 more questions to go after this. Which criterion evaluates whether the necessary personnel, equipment, materials are available for the Six Sigma project? Availability of resources, scalability, impact on process. Such a simple question, no? Obvious. Okay. How does the urgency criteria influence project selection in Six Sigma? By assessing the potential benefit, by determining the necessity of immediate action to address the critical issues, by evaluating the project's impact on customer satisfaction, by considering project's alignment with organizational goals. What is the correct answer? All right, there are a lot of people who are pro here. Very good. Thank you very much for your active participation. And the last question is, what is the focus of impact on process efficiency criteria on Six Sigma? Improving customer satisfaction, reducing defects and rework, meeting regulatory compliance, and assessing products' financial cost. Impact on business, sorry, impact on process efficiency. Okay, reducing the risk and defects. I have put the criteria here: sponsorships, data, definition of defect, stability, and all that. Okay. And I'm going to, this is the 15 criteria, and you can read this definition separately. Okay. You can read this definition separately. And these questions are the questions that we need to answer. and the team should come up with the weightages. The weightages are given by the team. On a scale of 1 to 5, the team gives the weightage. Okay, let me put on a scale of 1 through 5. 1 through 5. Let's say that the team has chosen these numbers, and there are 5 different questions to ask against each. 5 different answers you should give against each question criteria. Okay. Like for example, if it is no, you should enter here 1. If it is most likely no, you should enter here, and so on and so forth. If this is clear, type super clear in the chat box. If this is clear, type super clear in the chat box. Okay, fine. Now, this weightage is arrived by the team, okay? And these numbers are all discussed and put, okay? If it is yes, you put a 1 here. If it is no, you put a 1 here, and so on and so forth. So having done that, now comes your focus, okay? Now what you should do is, you should develop, now we are going to use 1 to 5, 3 as a center, okay? When I talk about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 3 is the center, okay? So if the weightage is 3, you will get 1. If the weightage is 4, you will get 4 by 3, which is 1.3. If the weightage is 5, you will get 5 by 3, which is 1.7. If the weightage is 2, you will get 2 by 3. Okay, and so on and so forth. If this is clear, type super clear in the chat box. This is little difficult to understand for people who didn't focus on what I said, but don't worry, the formulas are given here. Yeah, if you're not focused, you will not understand this, okay? But anyway, I've given the formulas in this doc, and it is actually this 3 divided by this, okay? Okay, due to heavy collaborator use, some tools of this sheet may not be available for larger audiences, okay? Okay, I think there is too many people using this, so something may not be available for the collaborators. Okay, you can use this later, okay? Because there are over 600 people here, and more than 100 are trying to use this. There is some limitations, okay, for collaborators. Okay, so once you do this, then we add all this here at the bottom. We add here, okay? After you add here, divide by this criteria number. No means 1, most likely means 2, and divide that, and finally you add all this and put a 60 here, and then this divided by here. Now the steps I've given here, don't worry, the steps I have given here. Okay, just to make sure that it is in my own style, I'll make it as a Lexint, and I will delete this thing that's normally my style. Okay, I remove unwanted things so that it will not disturb your scrolling, okay? Okay, now you cannot scroll, okay? So step 1, I will go ahead and then put a center for everything so that everything is done. Now I have written the steps here. You can go through the steps, okay? You can go through the steps. Once matrix is completed, you apply the steps, that is divide each weightage by 3. And then I've also given examples here. Okay, there are some errors in the book also. In this case, the total is, if you see, the total is actually 60.7. So I will change it to 60.7. There are minor mistakes here in the book, even in the body of knowledge. Okay, so 60.4 here. And the value comes to something like 60.7 by 18.3 is 3.31. 16.7, 60, oh, 60.7 is it? Okay, 60.7 Let me correct this by 18.3, which is coming to something like 18.3, 3.31. Anyway, this is all math, so you can correct it as and when that is needed. Okay. Okay, now finally, you see here, I would put a red here. I just prepared at the last minute for you guys, okay? So that I wanted to give this template away. And this one is project is a little viable. I'll put it here, and above 3 is a viable. Okay, this is all sort of, I wanted to beautify this so that it looks neat and clean. Okay, so great. So if you found this useful, interesting, awesome, fantastic, whatever that you felt, put it in the chat box.